Remember the joy of being a child and opening a present you've been really looking forward to on Christmas morning? And then the heartbreak when you realize that the present is not only not cool, but actually really sucks. And then that horrible song and dance you have to play through, showing gratitude to the person that gave it to you, eating a shit sandwich and pretending to like it. What I didn't expect that as an adult, it angered me to see it happen to somebody I cared about. What kind of sick person enjoys seeing the disappointment of a young child? Buddy, next time that happens to you, I promise we're gonna turn that sorrow into joy. By taking that box of shit and laying it at the giver's feet, you and I will stare right into their eyes as we stomp that f***ing thing in the f***ing powder. We're gonna break it, break it, break it. Thank you so much. This is the best Christmas present ever, you motherfucker. Welcome back to the Watch Party Post-Holiday Spectacular. I'm your host, Gene. How was yours? Mine was amazing. We ended the evening with the family together playing with one of the kids' games, and my sister won the night with the very first move. It was a mic dropper. She had 5 seconds to answer this question. Name 3 things that are hairy. Without hesitation, she says, my butt, my front, my legs. And this is my brother-in-law. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Then finish the evening with the conclusion of The Mandalorian. Thank you guys. We finally got the Star Wars we've always wanted and needed. Thank you, the true sequels. I truly hope your holiday was as awesome as mine. But let's stop wasting time and get into episode 6, which is undoubtedly the best episode of the season so far. Again, the format has changed, so we'll just be covering major story beats from now on. And put your tinfoil hats on because we're getting some really deep here. You know what to do. Hit pause, watch episode 6, and come back. We start a recap and analysis in 3, 2, 1. First off, let's discuss Marcus and Sue's dilemma in the beginning of the episode. To tell or not to tell Paul? Personally, I don't think they should say a thing to him. They should just write it out, love the kid with all their hearts, and raise him right. For one, I'd be pissed off if I was in Marcus's shoes and all of a sudden Sue grows a conscience after all these years. Like, are you kidding me? And second, is telling the truth always the right thing to do? In my opinion, I don't think so. Life is neither black nor white, it's all in the gray. And who would they really be helping if they're telling the truth here? Was it really so awesome when everyone in your family did DNA tests and found out your father was a serial rapist? It certainly was good news for the families that needed closure, but your family? Devastated. Or what about the time when you found out your great-grandfather was actually a high-ranking Nazi? Or when you discovered that your wife of 25 years is a serial adulterer and all your children are actually not yours? There truly is no right or wrong answer here, just some messed up situations. Let me know what you guys think. Next, let's talk about the second, what is undoubtedly the final death of Father. Yay. I guess there was a point to his existence, and that's beta bitches can't survive out in the wilderness, and people like me don't have tolerance for them either. But it just wasn't fun watching him each episode, and personally, I hope that HBO doesn't bring another character like that back. Remember that dumb computer game you played as a kid and you kept killing the same character off? Susan has typhoid, Susan has dysentery, Susan and Father are dead. Remember in episode 4 when Mother pulled the bean out of that wreckage? I wonder if she's going to install Sturgis's program into Father's body. Now that I can get behind. Now let's talk about Mother's awesome new force powers. You think this is something she discovered on her own out of desperation? Or do you believe like I do that Sturgis is now a part of her programming? Either way, using the giant boulders as frag grenades was a boss move. And I had to watch it again to make sure that the guy who got his hands blown up wasn't the same guy who got stabbed in the face in the previous episode. It wasn't. I think they missed out on a huge gag there. But if you still want to chuckle, rewatch, because Handless Man is the last guy you see running for his life. Let's sink our teeth into the relationship between Sturgis and Mother. Now that we know he's a rogue AI, it calls into question everything that's been revealed about Mother's past. It's quite on the nose that Mother's become a Tinder junkie and has definitely contributed to the downfall of the camp. The lovemaking scene in the simulation was a bit weird, but we get what they're trying to say here. And Sturgis biting Mother? Clearly he means harm. You think this is a reflection of real human relationships? Do you really love the person you're with? Do you really want them to be just who they are? Do you want to change them maybe just a little bit? What do you guys think? And the end of that Bram Stoker fantasy with all the blood dripping down and all the stars vanishing, you tell me what's happening. Is this the end of everything as we know it, or is this the end period? Very interesting. I know we're bouncing around, but let's talk about the end of the show next. You tell me about the voice in Marcus's head. Is it God's? Is it an intelligent being on the planet, or is it his own head? There are lots of telling moments for Marcus in this episode, and the handing over the eyes at the very very end was one of them. Between the father and the son, he is clearly the alpha in the pack. And I don't think Sue's ever gonna forgive him for putting Paul back in harm's way. In my opinion, Marcus was right. There would be no other way to defeat Mother. But Sue was clearly trying to protect Paul from the same past that her and Marcus suffered as children. But by sending Paul back into the lion's den, Marcus has just burdened Paul with the sins of the father. It's an expansion on the theme of young kids becoming adults very early, and I dig it. And finally, let's talk about Campion versus Paul, or what Stormy Storm likes to call Cain versus Abel. Dark-haired guy, vegetarian. He's kind to animals, has no problem committing acts of violence against people. Sound familiar? Blonde-haired guy, will eat animals when he's hungry, but has a problem committing violence against people. Sound familiar? One guy is smarter, the other is more physically talented. When is it moral to kill? When you're ideologically threatened? When you're hungry? In self-defense? Or if you really need something? Paul seems to be more intelligent than Campion, but his weakness is blind loyalty. Campion, however, questions everything, but acts upon his feelings and rushes to judgment. A Jedi he will not be. I think both these characters were written well, but in my opinion, Campion is more interesting out of the two. Mother is no longer a mental match for Campion. Although he may not be the smartest kid in the bunch, he has definitely learned to outwit his opponents in very surprising ways. Make no doubt, Campion is no dummy, and he has learned some very awesome lessons from Mother, such as brutality, physical force when it's necessary to use it, and it is absolutely powerful. Paul is a super clever and super brave badass, but he is definitely gonna have to step up his game. And that is the end of episode 6. So what'd you guys think? In case you didn't notice, it's my favorite episode by far, and how could it not be? There's so much to digest, it's oh so good. My only criticism is the obvious plot convenience that came full circle by the end of the episode. Of course, I'm talking about Mother sparing Marcus's life in episodes 1 and 2. But that was then and this is now, and there is lots to look forward to. Shout out to Robert and Stormy Storm for being regular contributors. Your contributions are much appreciated. I need more people that are smarter than me. And Robert has become a Nostradamus. Read his letter from episode 5. Some good stuff. I hope you guys are excited for the Snyder Cut like I am coming to March. I'll be covering that too. Catch you next week when we break down episode 7. And as always, thank you for watching Sunday Night Watch Party.